Good to know, because this guy ain't half bad.
It's crazy how this is the best ship in the show, and I don't care for it. Romantically, mentor-mentee, hell yes. Husk and Angel Dust dating, though, doesn't do nothing for me. But again, I love their dynamic, as in a sea of couples giving us nothing, in interactions that read like cliff notes, Angel and Husk are really the only people here that have a rapport. From the banter that absolutely isn't harassment to the older man trying to help the younger one figure out just, well, to not end up like him. There is a lot to love about them. I just personally think that it works better when they're not sleeping together. But if you're into that, I can see why. So let's break down the complicated mess of personal drama that is Huskerdust, how they uplift one another to be better people, why they work, and how it's a little weird that a show digging into sexual abuse still uses harassment as a punchline. Alright, before we explain the situation, we gotta know who's in it. First on the block is Angel Dust, fan favorite, icon, just born yet already his jokes are aging poorly. Angel Dust was for many years one of the biggest staples of the Has-Been Hotel, just everything. His music video dropped and it's still the most viewed thing on the channel, and for good reason. As we clown on Angel for just making more sex jokes than Quagmire before he got cancelled, at the time he was pretty much the original tragic Whoopi of the Has-Been verse. He was the goddamn king till Helva Boss swooped in, and right now that thing is trying to out-trauma itself. Angel, though, you will have to admit, is the mold. As in a world where they're trying to redeem sinners, he was the only one where we truly knew his issues. See, Angel Dust was a gangster. A novel idea in this world, I know, but in life, he was a member of the mafia with a homophobic father. Yes, this is just Moxie. They double dipped with these backstories, but we really just gotta move on from that. One day, Angel Dust and his whole family died, with none of them getting to rest in peace cause now they were all in hell. Transformed into spider demons cause they had a web of crime, and I guess when you're out of irony, a pun will do, if that's a pun. Then, like every kid with daddy issues and nothing in the bank, Anthony turned to porn, where he got the stage name Angel Dust and things got worse. By like a lot, with Angel trading his daddy issues for Valentino, who would make his life an actual living hell, causing Angel's drug habit to turn into a drug problem, as he struggled to find a way to cope and forget the life he was now trapped in. This is the trauma that informs so much of Angel Dust's behavior. It is what led him to adopting this devil-may-care attitude because his personal demon didn't. Life dealt Angel a bad hand, and no amount of reshuffling seemed to make it better. This is a character that so many people latched onto, as he was just that fun blend of someone who was terrible to everyone around him, but once you got to know who he was, you realized that there's really a reason for it. As yeah, this is a lot. Nobody could have handled it well, so people were willing to give him a pass on being a dick. Plus, in a show that's supposedly gonna be about redeeming sinners, Angel Dust being a prick was just gonna be his starting point. Yeah, he was gonna act like a sex joke spitting tool, but we were pretty much guaranteed to see him confront those issues, which could then lead to a glorious arc about healing. People loved the idea of Angel, and unlike Husk, we actually knew shit about him. Speaking of the devil, Husk, gonna be honest, we didn't know dick about him for the longest time. He kinda just showed up in the pilot, Alistair summoned him away from a poker game he was just about to win, only to bribe him to serve as the hotel's bartender, which is kind of fucked up given that Has-Been Hotel is just a fancy way of saying rehab, but the presence of a bar, yeah, that's weird. But Alistair is only here for shits and giggles, so having an active temptation to sin is very on brand for him. Then, just to prove him right, Angel Dust shows up immediately demanding alcohol and trying to flirt with Husk, refusing to entertain any of it, which is pretty much their dynamic in a nutshell early on. But Husk, again, enigma. As based on the pie, all we really knew about him was the fact that A, he used to know the radio demon, B, he liked to gamble, and C, was visibly dead inside. He didn't crack a smile or play along with anybody's bullshit, with him resigning himself to do whatever task Alistair had for him so long as it came with a bottle. We'll get into Husk's actual backstory when it's relevant, but the important thing here is that Husk is that crusty old cat who will hiss and claw at you if you don't mind your own damn business. He's just trying to get through the day and barely tolerating everyone else's existence, with this being the thing that sets him up as the primary target of Angel Dust's, well, attention.
I need a big, strong daddy to put me in my place.
Again, Angel has daddy issues. They all do. But if you were to crunch the numbers on who he's gonna tease and harass, then the answer is gonna be Husk 80% of the time. Vaggie is fun, but he knows he can only push her so far before she kills him. Charlie is so sincere and genuine that while he will make fun of the things that she likes, mocking her is kind of off the table, as even he knows that she's just trying to help and she took him in no strings attached. Serpentious is fun, but he can't really fire back. Alistair is just stonewalling all of his attempts. And Nifty is a freak, so when it comes to people that he can irritate to amuse himself, Husk is gonna be his go-to. Husk hits that sweet spot of hating it and giving him a reaction, which is a thing that he desperately craves. We see this in the first couple episodes, where Angel will be annoying and try to get under Husk's skin, with the old cat just telling him to shut up, with Angel working overtime to make any response kinky. Husk screams, "I'm too old for this shit," with the only break we get of that deep cynicism being the part where he yells at Angel. And that's just kinda what they do for most of the first 3 episodes. But we do see it. There's an actual back and forth between them, which doesn't seem like a lot, but if you want consistent character interactions, this is kind of the best that we got. Be it something stupid like in the commercial where Angel is hamming it up with bad porn acting, partially to ruin the ad, but he's also really doing this to bug Husk, who again, is not into it. So we might as well take this moment to talk about the elephant in the room. Angel is sexually harassing Husk here. If you disagree, you're wrong. In fact, just ask the show.
Constantly make us look bad, sexually harass the staff.
Now personally, I do think Angel's bit about being hypersexual and making sex jokes all the time is one of the less funny bits in Hazbin Hotel. It fits his character, but even back in the pilot, I've never loved it. But it's one thing to have what feels like one-off instances where the joke would be then dropped, versus framing it as something that is happening constantly. And that is the case with Angel and Husk. Angel making passes happens constantly. This is not one-off, this is not, oh, it happens, that's funny, we move on. No, this is consistent. And what makes it even more touchy is the fact that the story dives into Angel's own personal history with abuse. So the framing for Huskerdust getting all touchy-feely with Husk does feel a little bit off because of it. Yes, there's no proper roadmap for dealing with trauma, but this isn't real life. So you really have to look at the story and how it frames these interactions to understand what your takeaway is supposed to be. And honestly, don't love it. Angel harassing Husk feels like it's something we're supposed to be entertained by. That's just Angel's way of ribbing the people around him. Never having that tinge of, oh, this is kinda fucked up that I think the story would later go for when it calls him out for it. They call it out in episode 4 as a sign of Angel going too far with it being an actual problem, but the line between this is a character flaw and this is supposed to be funny is very blurry here. Stuff needs to be taken seriously no matter who it's happening to. I'm guilty of laughing at it and Ed, Ed, and Eddie, but it's still a very difficult tightrope to walk when you want to have this as a recurring joke and then actually deal with it as a serious topic later. This blurs the line so much between what we're supposed to take seriously and what we're not. But getting handsy with a guy who clearly isn't into it feels like the line that they need to avoid if they want to have their joke and dissect it later too. If I were to pull example from Hazbin's sister show Hell of a Boss, Luna is the adopted daughter of Blitz, and she beats the fuck out of him. Now you could say this makes light of those who've been physically hurt by family members. I think the reason the overtop comedic violence works here is that it is over the top. People are violent with each other all the time, and Luna goes from being a person to a literal fucking dog at the drop of the hat. There is a very clear line here between what is comedic excess versus moments that are meant to be taken seriously. It's not perfect, but it tracks. Here it reads as Angel just annoying Husk, and that's kind of it. Angel being horny in public was never hilarious. Husk hates that shit, tells Angel as much, only for it to keep happening. So I get why people in a chemistry drought would turn to problematic water, but for me, it never really builds romantic tension, but I can't understand why people would latch onto them regardless. Out of all the possible ships in Hazbin right now, Huskerdust is really the only couple giving us anything. I said what I said. Husk and Angel Dust, though, for all the problems they have when they interact, at least they do have a consistent back and forth, with everyone else kind of just floating around and being too busy with the plot to really build a dynamic. But it's only in episode 4 that we really get to see the potential of what they could be really start to blossom. And it's only here that we really dive into Angel's issues. Like when we see his jealousy of Serpentious being praised by Charlie, with Angel's first instinct when he starts to feel down about himself is to listen to Valentino's threatening voicemails where he is demeaning Angel, telling him that he can't change and that he'll end up back with Val soon enough. This is Angel validating his sense of self-hatred, his feelings of failing at the hotel, and not being worthy of love. Also, sidebar, I think we do have to note what a backhanded move it was for the hotel to have Angel Dust play the irredeemable crackhead in the mini play. Like, if I didn't know Charlie, I'd assume this was her being passive aggressive. She'd never, but that's what happened. Angel's self-esteem is taking hits from places he never expected. The man has issues. Thankfully, Husk is right there to help him through it.
You really gonna sit there and act like these scripts ain't hot garbage?
Eventually. Naturally, the episode about them lifting each other up begins with them tearing each other down. Angel is showing off a porno he won an award for. Husk is about as impressed with it as he is with Angel, so not at all. With the old cat pointing out that the script is shit and how inaccurate the interrogation scene was. Very boomer of him. Angel Dust, Mr. Insults Everybody, suddenly gets very defensive, like weirdly so, calling his porno high art. Now, this could be a bit. I think there's a little bit more here. Angel loves to rile people up, and he doesn't sweat it when people insult him, turning their insults into jokes or even his own king. But Husk insulting his work is the first thing to really get under his skin. Angel Dust is someone who is used to being insulted, so he tries to turn them into jokes to cope. The reason that I think that he's so pissed off about the porno, though, is that these things are the sum of his blood, sweat, and tears. Val owns his soul, and he can't turn down any of these projects. So if he's trying to find some sense of pride or ownership out of his own experience, viewing these films as art would at least validate the experience and at least let him think that he got something out of it. And having someone insult them would make him get defensive, as if he knows deep down that these films are shit. To him, if he's not good at his job, then all he has left is the bad memories of making them. Husk, spotting the disconnect, calls Angel out on this, with them spiraling into a fight where Husk points out how fake Angel is, putting on the persona that we all know that he does, but everyone else in the hotel didn't get the spoilers, so they don't know. Angel tries to deflect by saying he's an actor, when he knows that Husk is talking about his everything else. Angel, rather than continue this interrogation, is forced to scurry back to his boss, where at work, Charlie shows up to be nice, but not helpful, making Angel's dangerous situation worse, as Charlie's interference leads to an on-set accident, where everything is on fire, with Val taking his anger out on Angel. Assuming that Angel is trying to use Charlie to get out of his contract, Val beats and humiliates Angel to remind him that he owns his soul, that Angel is his. Broken but not wanting to see him do anything to Charlie, Angel plays a bad guy to yell at her to go away. And from there he goes back to his job in a music video that can be boiled down to "My life sucks." But the most worrying is the idea that Angel puts out that he chose this, that Val, this life, all of it is poison and killing him. But Angel, in part, blames not the person who was actually at fault, but himself for signing the contract and putting himself into this situation. And after a whole lot of less than consensual sex work, Angel makes it back to the hotel where Husk is also still working the job he's been forced to do. Angel quickly jumps at the chance to drown his sorrows, with Husk again pointing out the obvious.
Didn't realize this was a drinking to forget kind of night.
But despite being still a snarky prick, Husk here is trying to help Angel, cautioning against trying to drink away your problems, warning that he personally found that out the hard way, which to this point has been the only time he's ever offered something up about his own past. And I think this small scene, while it didn't end well, is the perfect encapsulation about why I like these two together, even if that's not in a romantic sense. I love them because they are the same person. Husk and Angel share a lot of the same issues and character flaws, but the true difference between them is how they are at just different stages of the same path. Husk was a former overlord. He was on top of the world, only for him to lose all of it via gambling, losing his fortune bit by bit till he fell into Alistair's debt when he tried to win it all back. Husk tried to deal with losing control by drinking, and that got him nowhere, just like Angel. But while Husk has been through the ringer and still drinks, over the years he's been able to recognize the mistakes that he's made and what's led him to this point, and the unhealthy habits that kept him there. When Husk looks at Angel, he doesn't just see an oversexed prick. He sees himself, what he was. Though the other problem here is that Husk, he's not really jumping at the chance to lend a helping hand. He just wants to get through this day and mind his own damn business. This has led him to avoid talking to Angel, never really connecting with him or really connecting to anybody at the hotel. But no matter how much he tries not to care, seeing Angel just be this low, I feel like it touched something in Husk that he's like, okay, I'm gonna give my 2 cents, and then he has to be bullied into doing the rest of the things he does. When he starts, he's not polite about it. However, in this hotel, Husk is probably the only one here who can reach Angel, as he's the only one who really understands what he's going through. Charlie's trying, but her plan involves good intentions and summer camp logic. Be nice, trust falls, open up. Charlie isn't equipped to deal with serious mental health issues. Sad but true. so it's really all up to Husk. He can see Angel's meltdown coming, and while he has to be prodded, Husk ends up saying exactly what Anthony needs to hear, as it starts with him admitting that he's not okay. Angel's aggressive flirting with people has always been in part a distraction to keep people away from his own issues, and when he gets caught on it, he ends up flat on his own ass when he tried to pick a fight with Husk, who refuses to buy the persona that Angel puts on. With us watching Angel spiral from there, we hear Val's words come through him, how much he's worth, that he is desirable, that people like Husk would be lucky to sleep with him, even though he has no real choice in who he sleeps with. This all betrays how Val treats him and what he's always told him, and this is how Angel starts to view himself, as that's how he's been framed and used by others. Running off from there, things go from worse to worser. Husk is pressured into going after him by Vaggie, with Husk watching Angel almost get roofied by a group of sharks. So he steps in, saves Angel, then tries to drag him back to the hotel, only for us to get stopped by more yikes info, like how Angel claims to have known the drink was spiked, that it happens all the time, with Husk misunderstanding Angel to think that means he gets roofied all the time, when Angel really means he's in weird situations like this a little bit too much. Let's hear that Angel finally drops the act and starts venting at how he doesn't want any of this to happen, that he is in an awful situation. The persona that he puts on isn't just fake, but it's who he needs to be in order to survive the life that he lives, to not crack under the strain of the shit he has to go through and avoid thinking about it later. That's easier to lean into sex than to talk about how not okay he actually is with his job. Husk sees this. He sees through the persona and the person suffering underneath. He knows what it's like to be forced to serve someone else. Now when your self-esteem is at its lowest, it's at its hardest to pick yourself back up. Husk, from his years of experience, recognizes that the key to getting over your problems is to talk about it, be it with your friends, your family, or even just a bartender. So it's here that he sings Loser, a song where he calls Angel a loser to his face, but does it in an endearing way, pointing out how there's no real barrier between him and Husk, that both their lives are fucked. They've made mistakes, they're not okay, but at least they're losers together. They have someone else who can understand what it feels like and what they're going through, and to feel like they're not just someone's victim or project. Husk sees Angel flaws and all, and this is what makes him drop his own guarded bullshit and actually open up to the younger man, and with this in turn allowing Angel to open himself up and to drop the hostility and to figure out what parts of himself he wants to embrace and those he could do without. He's still all in for sex and drugs, but he wants to do it on his own terms. Husk is a gambler who can't get out of debt, yet in spite of all that, they can still be there for each other. These two work super well because they are so alike, and that's why I think is meaningful, that these two have seen the worst of what hell has to offer and still choose to care. They're not overly lovey optimists, they're jaded burnouts with addictions. But so long as they're not walling in their own issues, they have a chance to be better and feel a little bit less alone. Angel has spent this whole season pushing people away and avoiding opening up. Husk has been the person to push back against him the most, so it's fitting for him to be the one to reach out, as that makes the gesture all the more meaningful. I love these two together, but I don't need them to be an actual couple, as how it started has issues. I think I just really vibe with them more in this mentor-mentee thing that they've got going on. I wouldn't say father-son, as, let's be honest, they're probably gonna bang. If they're ever in a situation where, oh, it looks like we're about to die, Husk will say F it and kiss him. But for me, I think they work better as friends than lovers. But that's just my personal preference. If you guys love this, go for it. I can absolutely see why this is the couple that people would be obsessed with. I'm curious to see how this will pan out later, if there'll be any big developments or we'll just be like, okay, rushing to do other stuff later. But whatever, it gave us losers, so I'm already satisfied. But please tell me what other ships you guys want me to talk about in this show. I have thoughts about who I might do videos on, but some of those will require more time, as I'm still praying that they save at least a couple of these things. But let me know down below, like, share, and subscribe. Love you all, peace out.